Welcome to Back of the Rack, a gaming videocast about games long neglected and not respected, games that everyone's heard of or hated, or no one's heard of and loved. We play the games in between the essentials and the unwanted, but mostly, we play what we want on this podcast.
Thank you for listening on podcast platforms or watching on YouTube, which we consider to be the optimal way to experience our content. Join our Discord where you can talk with us and others about Back of the Rack games. Make sure to like and comment on our videos and leave good reviews for podcast feeds because your feedback and engagement is the fuel that keeps us going. We hope everyone watching and listening is doing great, and we thank you for joining us today on another episode. Starting off, we will introduce this month's game with a scripted segment giving you all the details. Then we'll go into our unscripted thoughts about the game shortly after. I'm Bendez, and with me as always is Sondi. So without further ado, please enjoy.
Resident Evil Raccoon City is a squad-based third-person shooter developed by Slant 6 Games and Capcom. Released for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC on March 20th, 2012 in North America. Noticing Call of Duty's meteoric success, Capcom wanted to capture part of the market that the popular first-person shooter had been dominating for some time, ultimately deciding during Lost Planet 2's development that taking Resident Evil, one of their beloved franchises, in a new direction would be the answer, one that focused more on action and online multiplayer and less on survival horror and atmosphere. In Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, you play as one of 6 characters from Umbrella's security service Delta Team, an elite paramilitary security group sent out by Umbrella to erase any evidence of their involvement in the Raccoon City biological outbreak. Taking place during Resident Evil 2 and 3, the main campaign is played with a 4-player team with AI filling any empty slots. Each character falls into a class and can be equipped with abilities that pertain to that class. Vector is the team's recon expert, equipped with cloaking abilities and the ability to use tools to stun and morph into enemies. Beltway is an explosive weapons expert, enabling him to carry different types of mines. Spectre is the marksman with abilities that allow him to track and position the enemies nearby and through walls. Bertha is the team medic, allowing her to carry more health items and give teammates status buffs like increased movement speed. Lupo is the team's leader and the assault class, allowing her to use incendiary rounds and take more hits. Lastly is Four Eyes, the scientist who uses tools to control the infected you encounter in each mission. Each of the 7 campaign missions starts off with a short briefing detailing the story and mission objectives. Players are taken through mostly linear levels like William Birkin's lab or the police precinct of Resident Evil 2. Missions are fairly straightforward, with players completing simple objectives to progress through the campaign. Players can pick up several different types of explosives like flashbangs and incendiary grenades, as well as first aid and antiviral sprays. The latter is for certain enemy types that can cause your character for the first time in series history to become infected and turn into a zombie if not treated by the antiviral spray. After each mission, you are given a score based on your performance ranging from D to S rank. Those points are then converted into EXP, which you can then use to purchase weapons and improve passive abilities like increased movement speed or expanding the amount of health items carried, and active abilities like incendiary rounds, trip mines, and cloaking, among others.
With an expansive competitive multiplayer featuring modes such as Team Deathmatch, Heroes Mode, which allows players to play as classic Resident Evil characters like Leon, Claire, Ada, Carlos, and Jill, Biohazard Mode, a zombie-filled take on Capture the Flag, and Survivor Mode, in which 2 teams fight for a seat on the last helicopter out of the infected zone. Backstabbing teammates is encouraged to secure the experience gained in this mode. Slant 6 Games, the developer, is known for SOCOM Tactical Strike and Fireteam Bravo on the PSP, as well as SOCOM Confrontation on the PS3. The team believed that they were creating a Resident Evil 2 remake early in development until making several big changes due to Capcom's vision of a more action-focused Resident Evil. Many of Slant 6 Games staff came from an open world and racing background, with several key team members having worked on Skate and multiple Need for Speed titles. The team was made up of Resident Evil fans that had high ambitions and wanted to craft something that would be worthy of an entry in the franchise. But unfortunately, the team was given less than a year to complete development of Resident Evil Raccoon City, according to the game's director, Andrew Santos. Santos is known for his work on 2011's Driver, San Francisco, and 2007's Skate. He's gone on to be a studio creative director for a mobile game developer. Scott Patterson was the studio's art director, known for 1998's Knockout Kings on PS1 and 2020's Medal of Honor Above and Beyond for PC. Masachika Kawada was the lead producer from Capcom, with credits on most Resident Evil games since Resident Evil 4. Alongside Yasuhiro Seto as game director for Capcom, those two would be paramount in bridging the relationship between the studios in the creation of the game. While Operation Raccoon City did not do well both commercially and critically in the West, Japan adored the game, becoming the #1 best-selling game during its launch, selling over 2 million copies worldwide. Capcom greenlit a sequel that was eventually cancelled due to placeholder assets from Star Wars Battlefront 3 being found within the files of Operation Raccoon City. 11 years later, there are still die-hard fans of this game, with a dedicated player base for the multiplayer. Whether or not Operation Raccoon City could have reached its potential with a longer development time and less studio interference remains to be seen. But regardless, what players all around the world received was a title doomed to be remembered as a blight in the survival horror franchise, and a prime choice for Back of the Rack. Now we're going to move into the thought table, but before that, we're going to do what we always do, which is to talk about when we first heard about Operation Raccoon City.
Oh, yes.
So when, if you can think back to your teenage years, which I'm guessing this came out around that time, what do you think what was going on in your life? How did you hear about it? Did you see it on TV? Was there buzz? And in middle school, I don't know what the fuck age you were.
Don't age me that. I'm not that young now. I was in 10th grade.
2012.
Yeah, I was in 10th grade. I was in 10th grade. I was in tune with the masses.
That makes sense. Makes sense. I was already out of school. I graduated that same year that game came out. So,
yeah, I was aware of all of the shit that was going on with the game, but I was more focused on Street Fighter Cross Tekken. I was super excited for Street Fighter Cross Tekken that came out earlier that month, and I do remember going to GameStop the day that this came out, but I did not get Operation Raccoon City. I got Ninja Gaiden 3.
Oh, wait! Didn't Resident Evil 6 came out not the same time, but that same year?
Came out,
right?
Yeah, it came out the end of that year.
Yeah, so I mean, I remember going to GameStop for, I don't know what I was getting at that time. I can't remember, but I remember all the advertisement. Like I would go onto YouTube and see or IGN and see all the press leading up to it, and I was just like, this looks like a multiplayer game, and I was not into multiplayer games, so I was like, dismiss. Just get out of my face.
I wouldn't
completely.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was excited for it, but I do remember keeping it on my radar. Like, it was one of those games even back then that I was like, when it comes out, it'll come out. You know what I'm saying? When it goes down in price, I'll get it. But I think the Wii U was about to come out around this time, because I know the Vita came out and the 3DS were very new around this time. And I think the Wii U was about to come out, because I do remember at the end of 10th grade, I got a Wii U. And I was more focused on, that's when I first started collecting games. I had my PlayStation 2 little small collection right there.
Yeah.
So I was more focused on that than I was, let me play Operation Raccoon City. How was you feeling when you heard about this game?
There wasn't many people that I knew that were, well, I mean, to be fair, there wasn't many Resident Evil heads I was around. I don't think that there were many people talking about it. And I remember the buzz online, maybe reading the comments for the certain promotional materials that were on IGN and stuff.
Right.
I don't remember people I think everybody sort of knew that there was something wrong here. Something there was the CG.
Bad.
Yeah, there was the CG trailers maybe a year before or a couple months before, but once the gameplay started coming out and they were describing it, I think a lot of people were like, an action focused kind of thing. And I think honestly that's what did Resident Evil 6 in a little bit more, was the bad taste in their mouth from
because you get this and everybody, which should have been I like how they improved on the controls and I'm liking where this is going. Yeah, that should have been the idea, but instead everybody said no, and then RE6 just amplified that 10 times fold. So
yeah, which real quick, I want to say I was watching some some people review Operation Raccoon City on YouTube, and I think one of them showed some Resident Evil 6 footage, and I was just like, damn, that game still looks good
as hell, bro. It's a good game, bro. We need people to stop talking shit about RE6. It's a good ass game. We should have played this instead of RE6 for backup right. This is us correcting our wrong right here.
Yeah, there's some. I'm just like, what? This isn't it looks so. I think in the video they were saying oh, it didn't look good, and Resident Evil 6 didn't look good, and neither did Operation Raccoon City. I'm just like,
RE6 doesn't look good, or maybe it's because we're used to remastered PlayStation 4 version.
No!
But
No way!
I'm thinking even back then, I thought Resident Evil 6 looked good as shit at PS3.
Yeah.
I remember playing the demo, what was it, on Dragon's Dogma? I think they had a demo attached to it.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, no, this is next gen.
The lighting in that game, like whatever lighting engine they had for those like cutscenes, I'm like, it looks
Top
like
tier.
Final Fantasy 16 to me, honestly. Like it's on that level.
Okay, stop it. All right now.
It was look. Let me rephrase this. It was the Final Fantasy 16 of 2012 because it was the best looking thing that I had seen up to that point. Think about that. What was the best thing you had seen in 2012 graphically?
Hold on, bro. Hold on.
Think about that.
Hold on. Because you might be onto something. Because I didn't play Mass Effect, so I don't fucking know about that. Hold on. What else came out 2012 in gaming? Hold on. I got to fact check you on this because I'm not about to let this go like this. What's the best games? Far Cry 3? Dishonored? Yeah, you might be right. Yeah.
I am telling you, I think it was
you're
one
right.
of, if not the best looking game that I had seen up to that point.
Yeah, it was the best looking game at that point. Yeah, you're right.
And then Final Fantasy, I think the next game that I was like, this is the best looking game ever, was probably Final Fantasy 13. Maybe? When did that come out?
Final Fantasy 13 came out
2009?
Yeah, I think it came
Or
out
after.
earlier, and I think by this time, like Lightning Returns probably was about to come out. Yeah, I'm scrolling through the list of all of the games released in 2012, and you're disgustingly right, and I don't like that. And I'm trying to prove you wrong, but
No, hold on. No. You might. Okay, could you make the case that Uncharted 3 is a better looking game than Resident Evil 4?
But then
Resident Evil 6. Because Uncharted 3 came out in 2011.
Nah, Resident Evil 6 has better lighting. Resident Evil 6 has way better lighting than...
It's a bit more stylized. I think Uncharted goes for more maybe realism, and Uncharted 3 goes for more realistic lighting, and Resident Evil 6 goes for like a more stylistic, moody,
dynamic. Yeah,
it looks good as fuck.
It does.
Chris and Leon, that face off in like Shanghai when they're like,
bro, it still looks good to this day, bro. Yeah, Resident Evil 6 was the best looking game of that year. Without a doubt. As I scroll down, I'm in October now, and Resident Evil 6 was the best looking game of that year. I'm really trying to find like even like a PC game that like came out in between that I could be like, I got you right there, but nah, bro. Damn,
dude, I said that just kind of
like as a joke, I know, but like
it was, but I felt like I was right. It was coming out, and I'm like, I just feel
you
like
said
this
it
is
with
the
your
right thing to
chest,
say.
and you meant it, and I'm fact checking you, and you right, and I don't. We gotta accept. Yeah, because the Wii U came out right after this. Yeah. Wii U came out in November.
Just want people to know, put it in their history books that that was the best.
Was right.
Anyways, well, I mean, let's get into the thought table since we both kind of expressed how and when we first heard of this game, and obviously we weren't too excited for it back in the day when it was first revealed. So yeah, we'll go into the presentation. We do a thought table for those of you new to the Back of the Rack. We do a 3-pillared thought table, which is presentation, story, and gameplay, and we just give our thoughts around those. And we always start off with presentation. So presentation usually includes overall system or overall look of the game, art and design, environments, UI, cutscenes, not story so much. That's obviously in the story pillar.
I was thinking of like, how am I going to describe story? And I'm like,
the
story.
Let's just jump in here. So what are your first initial thoughts for presentation?
Hey, surprisingly, it's funny you mentioned about Resident Evil 6 being the best looking game of the year. Surprisingly, this game still looks good. Okay, so we played this co-op, to be transparent. We played this co-op. This is the first time we've ever played a Back of the Rack game together. We played it from start to finish together.
Online
on PlayStation 3. I didn't use any upscalers or anything like that with my PlayStation 3. It's just straight raw HDMI to the TV. And it still,
we raw dogged it.
it looks really good still. And we looked up some footage of like the PC version. It looks like a modern game. It's a different game. It looks really good graphically.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that PC version that we saw, which is like a 4K 60 frames. I don't know if there's any like mods added to that, like better textures. But
Yeah, I don't think there.
that
And
the
even if there
game
was,
natively ran at 4K like that.
yeah, and
Back
even if
then,
there
like,
was
there were
like some
4K.
mods, I mean, I don't think it ran at 4K. There's probably a mod to make it run at 4K, but I don't
Right,
think
right,
that
yeah,
like
yeah.
they like upscaled the models. Like I don't think our headless lady is going to look any more detailed than she already does in the corner or something like that. You know,
True, yeah. We love that fucking
shout out headless lady.
discombobulated woman. Like a teenager, I'm sure, because she was like in a schoolgirl outfit. No,
Yeah, I think, or like a business.
Okay,
dress
yeah,
or something,
yeah,
something of the sorts.
yeah. So you know what's funny? There were points while we were playing where I was like, "This game looks good." I think the characters were the more impressive looking to me in terms of like texture.
Yes.
Like I remember I was playing as the medic, and I thought that the lighting and the texture work on like her leather suit looked so. I was just like, wow, this is. I forget that the PS3 and this generation still had some like good texture work, you know, and some good lighting and stuff like that. It just depends on the game, and also, well, you know, Resident Evil 6 was a PS3 game, so obviously that game looks really good.
That generation just has like a muddy anti-contrast like filter just put over top of it that it kind of dilutes your like nostalgia of the console a little bit.
Yeah, especially because people say because like early on in that generation there was a lot of gray, dull looking brownish games and all this. Yeah, but yeah, I think it does suffer. I think from what a lot of games in that era do suffer from, which is bad textures typically, or generally speaking. Bad frame rate, and it's tough. It's really tough. So I recently got a PS5. Recently, as in like the last 6 months, got a PS5, and I wasn't to to use your phrasing. I wasn't hip to 60 frames per second.
Then you got that first 60 FPS. He was like, "Oh, I can't go back."
It's really the way games should be played. I mean, movies have a standard frames per second, which is 24 frames per second to make something look cinematic.
Right.
And when movies try to go up, like I think Hobbit, they released that and tried to do like 48 frames, and people were like, "This looks."
I remember that, and it did look super fast and like weird and wonky. It felt like a Willy Wonka movie.
Yeah, and so like with games, you need that fluidity because you're interacting with the environment, and you know. So it is hard sometimes to go back to play PS3 games just because the screen tearing and bad frame rate. You get used to it. Obviously, there are games that are locked at 30 that we get now, even to this day. But with PS3, it did suffer from inconsistent frame rates. So it would maybe be 30 was the cap, but then like it would dip at certain points. Yeah, especially in this game when there's fire, when there's a lot of other
zombies around and shit.
Zombies, debris, you're shooting, explosions. Online gaming also made it worse, just because there's a server load of carrying what you, me,
That's
and
true.
anyone else.
It's got to load what I'm seeing and what you're seeing on this side. It can't just like preload it off or nothing like that.
That I don't know. I felt like that sort of was like fuck. Yeah, it does look a little, but I did, however, like some aspect. Oh well, I mean, you thought overall the game looked good. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, like at least from the perspective I have, because when I play a lot of PlayStation 360 titles, they always have like a weird like you can tell that like, okay, this kind of looks like a PS2 game upscaled a little bit, where it's like on PS4 they kind of mastered the idea of, okay, we understand the high definition graphics and the lighting that's used here, but now we can make better looking textures. Whereas textures still look jagged in a lot of games from the PlayStation 3 era. Even though it might be HD, it might have better lighting, it might have all this extra fancy bells, but like you said, the frame rate will be shitty, or it'll be hella brown or hella gray from the contrast, and you don't really get the certain pops of color and feel that you could get from the next generation or even the generation before, because it was just an awkward time of transitioning from a way higher fidelity than we were getting before.
I mean, definitely a good way to put it, because I feel like that transition from PS2 style, I mean, I'm trying to think of like the best looking PS2 game.
Because Fatal Frame looks really good as a PS2 game. Trying to think what else we've played. Even Musashi.
Yeah,
but Musashi and Fatal Frame are both stylized.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, that's right. Fatal Frame has that like sort of filter over it, but it feels high fidelity. I wonder if the second one maybe even looks better. Silent Hill. I remember Silent Hill 4 on PS2 looking really, really good. I was like, fuck. And then Final Fantasy 12 was a PS2 game.
Final Fantasy 12 was a PS2
and that
game. That shit look amazing still. Or
yeah,
even
still.
Genji.
But
Genji's
it's also
late game that came out when the PS3 was out. And that game looks amazing for a PlayStation 2 game. Like, if you told somebody it was a PlayStation 3 game, you would believe it. Like, that's how good the first Genji game looks. Like, almost better than the second game. Like, that's so good.
I don't think I'm trying to think of the gameplay, but
yeah, I'll link you some gameplay after we finish the podcast. But yeah, it looks really good for a PlayStation 2 game. And the PlayStation 3 game just doesn't compare because, like I was saying, the jump of high fidelity, there's certain things, like there's too much bloom as compared to the PlayStation 2 version.
Yeah, I feel like this game, it doesn't stand out, but it doesn't, it's not the worst looking game. And given that they only had a year to sort of develop all these assets, and they had some help from the Japanese team, but they did what they could. So I'm not going to be like it's the fucking worst looking game. It's
right.
It's not. Character models look fine. Character design, I do really like all the character designs. Although some of them look a little like G.I. Joe-ish.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
A little.
Like, I like how all the dudes look like because they're all kind of based on Hunk. And I like how all the dudes have like their different like colored eyes and like it's cool. And then the girls is like you can tell it's a girl, and they just put like a little face mask on her or some shit,
right?
Instead of like doing the same thing. Like I think Bertha, the character you played, was like the only one that had like a full mask, and it's like that's cool, but I don't like the field medic or Lupo having just their face out. It's kind of felt weird.
Yeah. Doesn't Bertha have a mask? Or am I tripping?
Yeah, Bertha has like a full mask, I think.
And doesn't the scientist?
She has just a face mask, and then
she just has like the cover. Okay.
Yeah, and then Lupo has the face mask, but then she has like the clear thing over her face.
She has the
purple thing,
the King the Conqueror kind of.
Yeah,
look. That's true. I feel like some of the characters are G.I. Joe looking, but Resident Evil is interesting because it is sort of generic. I mean, if you look at Chris Redfield or Leon, I mean,
they're very generic. I think Claire and Jill are probably the most unique character designs. Even Shiva, all of the females are unique character designs.
A little bit more iconic because they're a bit more fashion forward. Jill in Resident Evil 3 is wearing a fucking blue tube top and a black skirt, you know, and then fucking Claire has her like her red. The jacket with like the
biker stuff.
Yeah, the biker stuff on it. And Leon, I mean,
he's in a police uniform.
They just look normal. I mean, you can't really do much. But Umbrella, like Hunk has always looked cool to me, and it's cool, like you're saying, that they sort of spun a lot of the designs off of that. I liked the main menu was cool to me, like with the BOW, like baby BOW,
the
like
little
on the side.
Fetus thing or whatever that was popping out.
Yeah, like the little like ultrasound view, like I thought.
Yeah,
was really
that was
cool.
Pretty cool, and how each one is like a DNA strand part of it. That's pretty cool.
I was like, this is the and
though the rest of the menu was kind of drab.
Exactly. That's what I have. Where I was like, that theme doesn't carry out throughout it's almost like they ran out of time because. That every screen after that, like
it's
the
like
character selection.
The character selector. Here's your squad. It is the most basic like Xbox Live Arcade looking screen in the world. It doesn't even tell you when you like lock in. I didn't know what ready was until our second playthrough. Well, not second playthrough, but second session of playing, where if you press start to ready up, your character, the background turns red. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know at all.
That makes sense.
I
Yeah.
thought that was just a weird. I was like, maybe it's showing that I'm a playable character. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant.
It's not super readable, even though it's super simple, which is just a show of that it's like just wasn't designed with too much intention. It's like
It felt placeholder. Like
yeah,
they
it
were
felt-
meant
yeah.
to. We finished the system and then we're going to stylize it later to make it fit the theme or whatever. But they didn't get a chance to get that far.
No, yeah, that's exactly it. Especially like selecting your weapons or your abilities. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Right. I was saying
but-
the attention to detail, at least for me as a Resident Evil head, is very uncanny in this game. There's many scenes that like are placed in where Resident Evil 2 and 3 took place, and you can see it in like because this is the first time that we saw Raccoon City in 3D before it became what was it next time? RE2 remake, right? That's the legit RE2 remake and not this RE2 remake. This is the first time I'm seeing everything. Like you can see the save point and the city hall where you're supposed to save if you've played Resident Evil, or even on the final scene, there's a scene where Leon knocks Nemesis into the lava like he does in the game, and it's in the exact camera angle that you would do it in the game from like the lock perspective, but you're seeing it through a camera screen. And I freaked out when we were playing it. I could probably put a clip here of me being like, oh my god, freaking out. Cool little trick. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool.
I feel like I need to play Resident Evil 2 again.
Bro, it's like the camera angles from Resident Evil 2. I thought it was the coolest shit ever. It's small things like that that make the other bigger things, like Our Lady, this one little dead lady that they show in the very first room of the game. And I remember we sat there and we stared at this little lady like, wow, this is a lot of detail in this room. Until we kept playing, and every time we found the lady, we would point it out and be like, there's Our Lady. They copy and pasted her in the name slot.
Yeah.
It's like 4
They
or 5
created
different
maybe-
like prefab like textures just everywhere.
This game feels like a lot of like they wanted you to just keep moving, like a fucking on rails ride. Like if you stopped and looked at something too closely, your immersion would be a little broken because they reuse assets and they place them everywhere upside down in different places, and it's just like, did you not think anybody would notice this exact same person?
You just grabbed the eyedropper and changed this car from gray to blue. You didn't change anything else about it. You put it in the same upside down position as this car. Like, you didn't think I would notice that?
Which there's this whole argument with, like, especially when it comes to animation, like, you know, on Twitter, there's like a sort of debate about whether, God of War using like the same, in like I think in God of War, Kratos is pushing the boat into the water, and it's the same in the first God of War. It's the same animation, and people are like, wow, this is fucking weak. This is like lame that they're using the same animation. The same with Spider-Man 2. People are taking clips of Miles Morales swinging in the city and then being like, this is the same swinging from Miles Morales the game, and it just like looks lame, so there are things where I can understand, like, okay, you can reuse an animation because it's good already and you don't really need to do,
and there's nothing thematically that would make the character swing differently or anything.
It doesn't make sense.
Hop in a boat differently. But
if anything, you could maybe just add animations, but like to reuse some, I don't think that hurts it. But when when there's like a set dressing, like a dead body, and you're like, oh fuck, that's crazy, she got fucked up, and it's like a dismembered businesswoman sitting on the side or whatever, and then a mission later you see the same fucking woman, you're just like, what the fuck?
And sometimes in the same mission you might see
in the same
3 or 4 different places where it's like, oh, there's the lady, oh, there's the lady, or even her buddy guy hanging over something. There's another asset where it's a guy that hangs over like a rail when you first walk in next to the dead lady, and you're like, wow, okay, that's like, you see both and you're like, okay, they got some pretty cool assets here. And then any fence with any divot or any rail that you see, you're going to see that dead body. And lady's right next door. She's right there. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it though.
No. It's, you have to take shortcuts. They had, again, a year development time. Mobile games get more development time. So I mean, they did the best they could, and we were sort of walking around, slowly looking. Like
And
we
yeah,
were
we're
doing the
different from
thing.
the main demographic that plays this game. Like we like to
Mhm.
stare at details. We like to stare over at the walls and try to
We do
read
the
posters.
we do we do like the E3 like slow walk, looking around, the camera pan.
Right.
We just like I do
We're
that so often in open world games.
we're
It's
not supposed to be doing that with this game. They
no.
expected you with your four friends to somebody to be bullshitting and then run ahead, and you have to catch up to
Yeah.
run ahead with that friend. They expected you to do this as a squad so that you weren't focused on the rest of the environment. The environment could literally be gray boxes, and long as you're having shooting zombies, it wouldn't matter.
So I'm thinking about some of the UI in other Resident Evil games, because I was thinking about like how the UI in this looks kind of like generic, or like, I don't know, just looked like whatever. But then I was like, okay, is Resident Evil known for creative or interesting UI? So I was trying to think of back to like Resident Evil 4
Resident
and
Evil 6 has Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 6. I think Resident Evil 5 would be a good example of one that doesn't have a really good UI.
Mhm.
There's not really much going on. The font is ugly. The menu for your inventory is ugly. Like Resident Evil 4 has that entire like inventory grid system that people are still raving about to this day. And then
yeah, the briefcase or whatever,
right.
which is cool. I mean,
And
doesn't really
RE6
make sense,
had a
but
different UI for each character.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's a little different.
Iconic Resident Evil 6.
Yeah, so it's a little different, I guess. Like RE5 was pretty boring in terms of UI.
Yeah.
So I guess that will be the latest game that they were working with in terms of ideas. So I can understand why they made the UI not that, and it's not that important. And also in terms of this is a multiplayer focused game compared to
It got the job done, right?
right. If it
If
was
you
too more stylized, then it probably would have went over deaf ears.
if you think about like the Resident Evil remakes now, Resident Evil 2 and 3 and 4, the UI is very, very stripped back, very simple, very utilitarian, like just
It's
it's
boring.
just-
It doesn't give you
it's-
anything.
it's almost like we don't want you to focus on the UI at all. Like you be in the game, and then when the UI comes up, it's just like simple like a black gradient with like white borders. Like just click OK, just do what you need to do and get the fuck out of here and get back to the game.
Right. Inventory
Like,
is just like boom, here's your inventory. Here's all you got. Okay,
Yeah.
now get the fuck. Come on.
Yeah, very, very simple, and very clean. And I mean, it doesn't need to have anything more complex, but it is interesting. UI in some way can tell a story, a
Right.
development story. Solid environments. I thought some of the environments were a bit linear, a little bit
Little corridory.
yeah, exactly. Very like just funnel. We're just trying to funnel you through this fun house to get to the end point. There's a couple of like you can turn left instead of going right, but it's rare that there's anything really good to find aside from what they have, like these raccoons, these actual
Yeah.
like raccoon statuettes that you collect.
Yeah, there's little small collectibles here and there, but it's not like you're going to find a different room that has a whole split section, anything that you have to do or anything like that in there. It's going to be go straight or go down this one corridor, find a collectible, and come back.
It would be cool. I think they missed an opportunity here, unfortunately, to like really explore Raccoon City, like to really make it a little bit more
A little
open-ended.
more open. Yes.
And I don't know how that would have worked on the PS3 or in that generation.
If it could have
but-
worked at all in a 4-player co-op standpoint.
right?
Because it could have been
Yeah.
like Borderlands. They could have scrapped that entire multiplayer versus mode
Mm-hmm.
and like made this like a open world 4-player. You level up your character, you try to escape Resident RE. They could have made it one of those kind of games because that was popular at the time, right? You had Dead Island, Borderlands.
Yeah, they could have connected all these like little levels all together because they all kind of seem to flow into one another. Like they could
Right.
have connected Birkin's lab into the police station or whatever the fuck, city hall. I can't remember. And then the police station, and then the outside, and then the trains. They could have connected all those areas. Like,
Right.
I would have bought it. I would have been like, yeah, this is Raccoon City.
Right, exactly. I don't need to know that much. Yeah. I do
So-
like the variation of dialogue depending on squad. Cuz I started playing the game by myself and I had a different squad setup than the squad setup that we had. And there was different dialogue options and stuff. And I
Mm.
thought that was like a nice attention to detail that they didn't have to necessarily do. And it shows that there's a lot of love when it comes to at least the game and the story that they were trying to do at least. But I
Yeah.
mean, we did switch to my exact squad. Like the second time, like halfway through our playing, we said, nah, let's switch our characters. And we switched to the exact squad I had. So I don't know, like, as far as I've gotten, if it was anything different. But I think I didn't get to the missions where they talked again, just other than the first intro and a couple other small little spots. But
God, see, this is the trouble with playing co-op online or playing anything online. I feel like I just can't. I missed every every character interaction you're talking about. I'm like, I don't even know what.
it was mostly cutscene stuff. And I would point it
Oh, okay,
out where I'd
cutscene
be
stuff?
like, that's different. That's different from what I played.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
okay. 'Cause
mostly
I remember in the
those
beginning
times.
you had said that. Okay.
Yeah. But that's what made
Yeah.
me think like, if I replayed this game a couple of times with different
Maybe.
characters, would have been what would have been said here. But there's this one area we'll talk about when we get to the story that I felt like should have had more dialogue, but didn't have any dialogue. And would have been very good to have that also that variation of dialogue to explain what happened, but it
What are you gonna do?
But they had a year. Like that's the only we scapegoating this a lot, but it's true. They
It's true. You cannot do that. I mean, think about
They were a PSP.
Resident Evil 6 had 3 years
Yes, 3 years of development,
development time. So I mean, come on. And then you're trying to make this like a whole like
multiplayer. It's a change in the formula. Then you gotta like the team that made it, Slant Six. They were made for like PSP SOCOM games. They had to remake their entire and they had to make a whole new engine. Redo all of the stuff. They didn't just copy and paste from SOCOM on PSP. They had to make a whole new game, essentially aiming, gunplay, all that stuff from scratch in a year
Yeah.
under Capcom Japan when they was like bombing like monthly. Like you gotta think this is the same like month they dropped Street Fighter Cross Tekken and Ashura's Wrath dropped like I think a couple months after this. And this is like that time when they were finding stuff on the disc for everything where they were like, oh, all the DLC for Street Fighter Cross Tekken's on the disc. All the DLC for Ashura Wrath is on the disc. Battlefront 3 is on the disc of Raccoon City. What the fuck? Like it's weird.
Yeah, no, I mean it was a really sensitive time for Capcom. They were really trying to like, you know, as we mentioned in the scripted part of this video, like they were trying to capitalize on the market that that was sort of becoming huge at that point, which was Call of Duty, the action-focused multiplayer games, you know, and many companies were doing like trying to move into the multiplayer arena.
Yeah, Medal of Honor killed itself. Battlefield was moving in. There was a new generic shooter every month, it felt like at this time. Sniper Elite. There's so many shooting games I can name off the top of my head that were coming out at this time that it was almost gross.
What did you think about the enemies? Because I feel like that was, I mean, this is a shooter, so if you're gonna be a good shooter, you're gonna need to have some interesting things to shoot at.
I felt like most of the enemies were generic in this game, which is sad by like Resident Evil standards. Like I felt like even the PlayStation 1 games, the enemies felt more dynamic. There was a lot of times you would see the same like we said, the same prefab dead bodies, the same prefab cars and posters that litter the world, but every enemy that you saw was the same. It was the same generic shooter bad guys. It was the same generic zombies. It was like a mixture of 4 or 5 different models. And that's not fun to shoot because that's what you're mainly shooting. You're mainly shooting zombies. You're mainly shooting the same military dudes. And it kind of gets old because there's nothing to differentiate them. The Lickers are the ugliest they've ever been in any Resident Evil game.
And the most unlikable they've ever been.
They are like a Licker in like the older games are like fun. You know, it's like a little nice different challenge. This game, they're like the dogs.
and I think you lose a bit of this. What makes Resident Evil is like, and everybody who's played this game knows this, but like the zombies just aren't oppressive in the same way they are in like Resident Evil 2, 1, and 3 or whatever. They're not scary. They just feel like fodder, like for you to just shoot at.
And they run in this game, which they don't do canonically, which is weird. But I feel like they had to do that because it's a 4-player game. Like they couldn't have made it how they envisioned the game when they started making it. I know the director, we've listened to an interview that he did where he was saying that they were trying to make the game like survival horror-ish at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And Capcom was the one that kept pushing them to make it more action focused. And you can see that in the lighting and the structure and the way that they were going about it. But then there's certain things that that they had to do, like make the zombies run. Because if we had a bunch of shambling zombies and 4 players with assault rifles and pistols, it would not be as scary at all. Especially with 4 people, you would just beat them up and run off.
Well, I guess that's more gameplay, so I'll leave that. But yeah, overall, I think you're in some interesting environments. You sort of get like the best of RE2 locations in some way.
Yes.
So you get to go to the precinct, city
hall. You get to go to Umbrella Lab.
Yeah.
I don't know about the train yard. I haven't played Resident Evil 3 in a long time, so I can't remember any of the beats.
It's interesting how we connect, just to sidebar this, just because like using the controllers that we did, it's interesting how much that can influence your perception and enjoyment of a game overall. Like some part of me, like watching that 4K 60 frames per second PC footage of this game, it looked like it played solidly.
Yeah, and especially with mouse aim, because I felt like a lot of the times I had like a awkward dead zone where I couldn't exactly aim where I wanted to aim, even with the sensitivity all the way on max.
It felt stiff, and then it didn't help that my controller that I'm using was like just straight up ass. Like it just doesn't feel right. It looks like I was looking at it and I'm like, is this fake?
Oh no, I can tell you right now, my shit is fake. Hold on, where's my controller? Let me show you my shit.
Let me get mine. Hold on, because I'm like,
hold on. Do we got the same controller, bro?
I don't know.
Oh nah. My shit is.
Oh yeah.
My shit is real knockoff for real.
Yeah, look at your buttons. Your PlayStation buttons aren't
like, even buttons, bro. It's like
they have like.
What the fuck is this shit, bro?
So like, look at this. So
your D-pad. What the fuck is wrong with your D-pad? Your shit might be fake.
Look how thick that shit is.
Yeah, it's too thick.
But then it has like the 6-axis. That's all there. It has the PlayStation Select and Start look real to me so far as I can tell. That? And then fucking it has even the back where I'm like, what the fuck? How could this be?
Or was that just how PS3 controllers were? I didn't really play PS3 until like.
Well, I just peeled this off on accident.
Oof.
But I actually do have like an actual PS3 controller, and they have the exact same thing, but this thing feels so aftermarket. Like the button travel on it takes me like a minute to get from like you know what I mean? Like when you press it down, I'm like, and you have to press it hard.
What the fuck?
Can't fucking be.
That's weird.
Well, that's weird. I don't know. It's really confusing. I'm like, I don't know if this is real or not. I don't like the feeling. It makes me uneasy, especially when I go online. I'm like, I can't tell if this is real or not. Do I want to fucking spend $60?
Yeah, I'll just go to Amazon and get the spacey controller.
That shit is so ugly.
It's incredibly ass because I can't I have to plug it in first so it can connect to the console. I have to plug it in and then it connects. Then I can unplug it. It's so gross.
I actually tried, and you know this, I actually tried playing on my PS5 or PS4 controller because you can connect your PS4 controller to your PS3, and the game just broke. It didn't register any, which is not that's
not uncommon.
It's not uncommon, but the games I played with it seem fine. So this is the first game I've played where it's just like, we're not gonna
put that shit back, bro.
Thanks.
What are you doing?
Yeah,
they think it's a fight stick.
I still tried to play the rest of the game with it just because it felt so much better, at least with the sticks, than it did with this controller. But
I do want to try this again. I do want to try it again on PC, just because it might be presentation wise, it might slap a little bit more.
Maybe.
Maybe.
And maybe that's all it needs is that fluidity, and then you're like, okay, now I can
Or it actually runs at 60 frames the whole time instead of 30. Maybe that's all it needed.
30 below, yeah. Let's move into story. Or wait, is that story?
Yeah, that's story, yeah.
Um,
In story, we talk about the story. I told you that's what I was gonna say. I told you I was gonna figure it out.
excellent. That was in story. We do talk about the story.
We be talking about the story in the story section.
I have to say, and this is again not to reiterate, but this is the thing with playing online games where it's like co-op. I just cannot pay attention to the story and I mean the story in this is already like kind of not in your face and sort of like, okay, whatever, we're just gonna talk and here's and we were talking about the game while the cutscenes were playing, so but I didn't feel connected to it. I actually love Resident Evil, but I'm not as familiar with the lore as I should be, even though I've consumed a lot of the games, the movies even. So like when you were like, "Oh shit," I was like, I don't
know what the fuck that means.
Yeah, like I don't speak Zimbabwean. I'm sorry, I just don't. I just don't speak that language. I don't.
No, that's funny because for me, the amount of lore between this game, like how it connects with the like, they really tried their best to. At the time, we didn't have anything that connected RE2, RE3, RE4, RE5, all of the mainline Resident Evil games together into this one cohesive package. And this game tried it at least, but it's weird because it expects you to know Resident Evil. Like it expects you to be a Resident Evil diehard fan going into this game. Like they don't really elaborate on like, that's a hunter, this is what they do, or this is a liquor, this is what they do. They just drop liquors at you and it's like, yeah, remember liquors? They don't really explain why you're messing with Nemesis and Tyrant. They don't really explain that. They don't explain Leon Kennedy and the whole situation. They just go, hey, you need to go here and stop this outbreak and you need to do this.
Which, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, from a Resident Evil fan, that's why for me, I was like, oh, I know where we're at. I know what we're doing. I know what we're about to go do. But to somebody that's like, like you've played the games, but you're not like a lore aficionado like me. Like I will watch a 50-minute video explaining all of the connections with Albert Wesker tonight to go to sleep. Like,
dude, what's funny is that Resident Evil 2 remake is like one of my all-time favorite games, I would say. So yeah, I don't know why. I just don't. The story never seemed to demand my attention, so I never really gave it.
And they don't really give you a good presentation of that story. The cutscenes, like, look, unfortunately, yeah, we were talking, but at the same time, the cutscenes are so fast. It's just like a, hey, hello, this is where you need to go. You need to do this. All right, go, and that's it.
It feels like a debriefing on a computer or something. Like there's not really too many pictures or anything. It's just like a weird robotic kind of like, well, not robotic, but like it looks like a slideshow almost.
Your operatives don't like ask questions. They don't have any dialogue to add on to it. It just, or even when you start the mission and you're going through the mission, they don't have any dialogue to say like, oh, this must be City Hall, or oh, this was what happened here, this must be what happened here. That's it. You just don't get anything. It just goes through silent, and you kind of just go through the mission and then do your objectives, and then it's just like mission complete. Go to the new place. It's weird. It's very awkward.
It feels like a missed opportunity for characterization of the 6 members or whatever, the Delta Squad, and they could have really like given them like things to say and things to react to and respond to, but they just give you objectives and plot points and no one says anything, and you're supposed to like
figure it out,
engaged or something.
And halfway through there's like a dynamic to where you get cut off from Umbrella, where I guess during the time Umbrella was like, you know what, fuck it, they've done all that they needed to do, we're going to kill them along with the rest of the city. And there's nothing to really explain that. There's nothing to really go deeper. Your characters don't have any moral dilemmas or any characterization as to why. It's really awkward. It really feels like they just did this. It feels like they shooed in at least the campaign, but I know that that's what they mainly focused on. It feels like they shoot it in and focus more on the multiplayer, and it's kind of awkward.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned, how they, like, story-wise, like, they expected people to know what was going on, because they expect people to have played all the Resident Evil games, or at least 2 and 3, right?
Right.
But at the same time, it's like you alienate your audience because, first off, who's buying this game? Resident Evil fans, right? But Resident Evil fans aren't looking for an action multiplayer game.
And Resident Evil fans at this time, there's way more Resident Evil fans of 4 and 5 than there are of 2 and 3 at this time as well, too.
Oh, okay. So, well, never mind. That pokes holes in my whole thing that I was about to say.
Oh, no, go ahead. Continue what you were about to say.
So what I was going to say, I guess they had been conditioning fans to be more accustomed to action with 4 and 5. And then this game sort of, elevates that to the maximum degree. And I guess so does RE6. But, they're trying to sell this game to a specific demographic of fans, but that demographic of fans wants more survival horror aspect. Like, they want more of those characters that they've come to know and love. And yet, so it's like this game has mixed signals on who it's supposed to be for. Like, the hardcore RE audience that wants, like, survival horror. Like,
that's true. That's true.
Or the new audience that's into, like, the more action focused 4 and 5. But
because Revelations came out, I think, on 3DS around the same time. I think it came out this year as well too. Revelations, and so you kind of getting like a weird mix of just Resident Evil in general, and a lot of people at this time that are the new fans to the series. Because I was one of those new fans that hopped in at 4. I mean, I hopped in at 5 actually. Then I went back.
Yeah, you know what?
I went back to 4, then I went backwards with all of the games.
Okay.
So at least I was one of the fans that said, okay, I like 5. I like the rest of the series. I'm going to play the rest of these. But for somebody that's like, I only played 5 or I only played 4, and then they hop into this, they'd be like, what the fuck is this? Where am I? What is all this shit? They don't know. They don't understand it. They just go, oh, kill Leon. But they're not thinking that they're killing Resident Evil 4 Leon, not Resident Evil 2 Leon, which is 2 completely separate characters.
Yeah, very different. Yeah. The whole thing just didn't seem quite natural, and I feel like, again, if they had more time, maybe they could have. The game director Andrew Santos in his he did a podcast more recently, or at least in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Where he sort of just talks about how the whole staff was. I mean, they were RE heads, they were really big fans of the franchise and wanted to do it justice and wanted to make a game worthy of the Resident Evil name. And so you see that a little bit, but unfortunately, that's not what they failed the execution. That's not what we get and what we receive as players. Even the end, right, where, like, it's this culmination in choosing whether to side with Leon or not. And it just didn't deliver the punch. Like, even if you were an RE fan, like, it didn't deliver a big enough punch to sort of justify it as, like, this big random choice, because it's never really, like, built up to that point.
And even then, when it happens, there's no dialogue to say, hey, do you want, like, there's no, like you said, there's no build up. And then once you click the dialogue option of kill or defend, it just happens, and you're just in the final little section. It doesn't really say anything. It's awkward.
Yeah, like, your team splits off, and you kill, like, the other 2 members, and you and whoever stay on one side. And it really felt like a poorly executed, half-baked sort of thing, where I was just like, damn, that could have been cool, but yeah, it wasn't. And so and then that's the end of the game. After that, you're like,
hello? I'm gonna splice in some footage of us, like, freaking out. Right. Oh, what shit. Whoa, hold on. Whoa. What do we do? Hold on, bro. This is a lot.
What?
Kill Leon? We didn't take a choice. What do you mean? Wait. No. Wait. Wait, we didn't choose if we wanted to kill or defend him. And we didn't even choose an option, and it just chose for us, and we just had to.
Which I wonder if that's like the default, right?
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about. Where we're like, okay, what if 3 people chose defend and 1 person chose kill, or what if all 4 of us chose kill?
Right.
What will be the options then?
Yeah, I don't think there's not really any discussion about that online either from the reviews that I read. Like
Nobody
sort of
cared,
like-
but it was like the last choice.
no one finished. Yeah, it was, and you don't get many. It'd be cool if like you had maybe make that the 3rd choice, like in the, you know, in the film world, you know, you sort of introduce items in 2s or 3s, usually big items, big themes, things that you want the audience to like to really resonate with. You introduce them in 3s, you know, once at the beginning, once in the middle, and you kind of do it in a different way. And in games that can happen too, where it's like you did this at the beginning and let's bring it back, and now you're doing it at the end,
Right.
and you're not, it's just all of a sudden you're like, wait, I can make a choice here? Okay, that's
Right. Like if I
random,
could have
like-
had a whole section where I fought Jill and I did the same choice, kill or defend Jill, or
Right.
I had to kill and defend Ada. It, like if you had that for every major player in that Resident Evil, because obviously this is not canon, so we can have liberties of being like,
Right.
okay, so what if I defend Claire and get her and Sherry out? What if that's a whole mission separate? And then if I kill them, I have a whole separate mission where, I don't know, bullshit
It could've-
happens.
It could have been a Resident Evil what if.
Yeah, your own choose
know,
your
like-
own adventure what if story with Resident
Yeah,
Evil 2
or-
and 3.
Yeah, it could have been like, and obviously this, no, it couldn't have been this.
It could have
but
been a
let's just say it
Warriors
could've.
game.
It could have.
They
It
could
could
have
have been a Muso. Easy. No, it could have been like not Dead by Daylight. What the fuck is that game called? I fucking have
Dead
Until
Island?
Dawn.
Oh, Until Dawn.
Until
yeah.
Dawn. With all the splintering choices, like
Yes.
they could have just They couldn't have, honestly.
Maybe,
That's
I mean,
a
that's in
whole
the
ground.
future.
But like that would have been kind of cool, right? Like to have
Right,
a game
yeah.
like where let's do what if scenarios. Like what if Leon and Claire hadn't saved Sherry, or what if William Birkin did kill Leon, or what if Umbrella, like all these what if scenarios where like you can affect like a fucking multiverse Resident Evil movie.
No, because that would
I
be
don't know.
cool. Because each level could have been different. Because it could have been, okay, on this level,
Yeah.
we killed Leon, and we're like at the beginning, you can choose when they crash the car, because you see them crash the car and you go, oh, they must be dead, but they actually survived.
Right.
You could have been like, okay, we're gonna chase them down, and you can choose: are we gonna go with Claire or are we gonna go with Leon? And then
Yeah.
at the end of that mission, you can choose who do I betray them? Do I let them go? Have
Yeah.
a whole mission like that. That would have been interesting. That would have been more dynamic. I would have felt more in tune, because I'm not used to what the fuck I'm doing in Resident Evil and Operation Raccoon City. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But if I was
Yeah.
following the story beats of Resident Evil 2 or 3, I would be more inclined to give a shit.
Yeah. But that's just not, ultimately it feels inconsequential, and it ends with a big wet fart, unfortunately.
Ugh.
And I remember feeling, I was like, and you were like, want to do multiplayer? And then we jumped into multiplayer. Because we're
Surprisingly,
just
there's
so-
people that was still playing.
Yeah, that is a whole different.
Can of worms.
You know, I was gonna say I was about to say that they must be playing on PC, but it's not crossplay, so they were playing on fucking PS3.
They were playing on PlayStation 3. Like if they were playing on PC, I would have gave them flack. I would have been like, okay, they're diehards. I can accept that. But they're playing on PlayStation 3.
How old do you think they are?
Bro, the nigga's name was it was like Lost Operation Raccoon City. Like Lost _ Operation Raccoon City. Level 99. He's like number 3 on the like leaderboards for everything. Like he is the game. Like when he said like total hours played, I believe that's not no hacked, like, because I was a couple of them on the leaderboard. I was like, okay, that's a hack.
Yeah.
But him, because we played with him, I'm like, no, he's been playing this game for 12 years.
That's sort of creep. That's sort of scary in some weird way.
like even then, this probably isn't his main account. This is his Operation Raccoon City account because he lost the login to his main account type shit.
Yeah, like that's so. It's like the first live service game. It's like the like developers and it's like the publishers saw like the metrics, like, oh shit, there's people that will actually play a shitty game for 12 years. Yeah. Let's make Destiny. Let's make Umbrella Corps. Fortnite. Yeah, let's make a live. This is how the live service model came to be because of niggas.
This is
like
why
this,
they keep trying to make one with every fucking Resident Evil. They're like RE-verse, how many fucking they made RE-verse? Then there was one before that was kind of like Dead by Daylight, or is RE-verse the one I'm thinking of that was like Dead by Daylight?
I think it's the one.
I swear there
like
was
the
like
asymmetric.
Because I swear there was one with the RE2 remake, and then there was one with Resident Evil 8. Or 7, whichever.
No, there was one that was supposed to come out with RE3. I know that. Yeah. Because I remember when I bought RE3, it's like, oh, this has come with it, and then I don't
think you ever got it.
I don't even. Yeah, I'm kind of. Wait, hold on. Let me go look at the box. What the fuck?
Yeah, then there's Revelations 2.
So Resident Evil 3 remake comes with something called Resident Evil Resistance. And it's basically, it says a new 4v1 online experience. 4 survivors work together to escape an evil mastermind's twisted experiment. So
yeah, exactly. See, and I think that's different than the reverse or whatever that came out.
Yeah, you might be right. Wait, did that already come out or is coming out?
I swear with RE8 because it had like it couldn't have been with RE3 because it had like Lady Demetrius and shit in there. Yeah, see, yeah, that's 2 different things.
Okay.
There's
so
RE Resistance,
Resistance was first?
Yeah, that's the Dead by Daylight one. And then RE Verse is the essentially Operation Raccoon City's like the mode that we played on multiplayer. It's essentially that, but like made by Capcom.
Where is it? Is it like out or is it
it's like a part of Resident Evil 8.
Oh shit. How
it's
come
like a
I've not heard
multiplayer
it?
mode. Yeah, because we haven't played Resident Evil 8. Oh yeah, and also it has a 4 out of 10 on Steam right now.
Ooh.
Yeah, niggas hate that shit too, so it's okay.
Yeah, gameplay is the third pillar of the thought table where we talk about gameplay. We talk about the mechanics, we talk about how well they flowed, we talk about what worked and what didn't. We talk about, just gameplay, just everything you can imagine under that. So let's Sondi, if you want to start this off.
Like presentation was so fire because I was like, yeah, that's true. That is what we be talking about. You do got to set the metrics, and then like I was thinking about it when you started saying it. I was like, fuck, story and gameplay is so self-explanatory.
Yeah. But it really is. Yeah. Presentation feels like it. Well, what do you mean by but gameplay and all that? Obviously,
yeah,
makes more sense.
But yeah, speaking of laughing, the gunplay is very laughable. It's like incredibly bad. Like every gun feels kind of bad. There isn't a single gun that feels good other than auto aiming the pistol with the L2 button. And that's sad, which is sad. I feel like they put that in the auto aim to like contradict, to be like, okay, I understand the gunplay is shit, but we'll just give you an auto aim so it levels out a little bit.
Have you played their PS3 SOCOM game?
No, I've played the PSP game that they had.
And that's a third person game?
Yeah, it's third person. It's got, you just hold L and it like locks on like some like kind of think like SOCOM, but like that's another Boulder title. But like Dead to Rights. Dead to Rights has like a lock on. You just hold L and then you tap A to shoot instead of like having to aim manually at people and stuff like that. That GTA San Andreas, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you go on a rampage.
This, that kind of makes me think this game, and I'm always, throwing out wild ass shit. So
I'm ready for it.
Are you ready
I'm
for
prepared.
this?
My heart is prepared for it. Come on, bring it in. Let's go. What you about to say?
So I feel like the way this plays feels like a port from a PSP title. Like it was a PSP game or you could reverse port it to a PSP and it
And
would play almost better.
Perfect. This game should have been a PSP.
This
Listen,
game should have been a PSP game.
We say this about some games, but we really mean it. Some of these games should have been PSP games, and this is one of them. Because think about the time. Monster Hunter was 5. Phantasy Star Universe.
Yep.
There's a bunch of PSP games that was 4-player, quick burst, run through it real quick.
Yep.
They pay us the big bucks, bro. Because
it also felt like it, didn't it?
It did. It didn't feel, because the auto aim is like literally perfect for like this. You would auto aim, and then you would use like triangle, square, X, and circle to fucking aim your character, and then R1 to shoot, and then you would use fucking like L1. Yeah, you would press like, if you press like L2, L, it would like fucking do the lock on.
Yeah.
And then the left stick up, that'll be all your buttons.
Okay.
And then for like actions, it would only be like when they get close. So like you press R1 if somebody's close without like, and then it would do like a combo or some shit. Or you would hold L and then press R to do like combos. I got the whole shit but mapped down, bro. Come on.
And not only that, but I barely use the melee or any of like we tried using some, there are some, if you have a copy, the manual of RE Raccoon City has like it's sort of like Resident Evil 6, how it has all those like moves and maneuvers that you can use to dodge and like, you know, be all stylistic and John Woo and shit. Right. But they weren't useful. The game just felt too stiff, and the animations too slow to ever properly utilize them. So take those out, put it into a PSP title, make it RE Operation Raccoon City Stories. Bam.
Boom. 4 players, y'all get together, you get like, you can have like loot, so you'd be like +5 headshot or whatever.
We're literally just describing like Mercenaries or something right now.
No,
which was on the DS, wasn't it?
We are. We're describing, this is, you can Phantasy Star Universe, I mean not Phantasy Star, you can Phantasy Star Portable like a lot of games. Crimson Sea.
We always say this shit.
Crimson Tears. There's a lot of games that like could have just easily been a PSP game, because the PSP is such a bite size, but it also had like a weird focus on like multiplayer. Yeah, like I remember like
capability.
A lot of sleepovers with friends, and we would all have our PSPs and be playing Monster Hunter all night. Like, okay, we gotta you want to hunt the Devil Joe? Okay, we gotta go hunt the Devil Joe. I remember a lot of sleepless nights of like under the covers, moms coming in being like, "Oh, fuck to sleep," and we're like,
"Yeah,
don't say anything. We're just gonna hunt together." It fits, because I definitely couldn't get 4 friends to buy the $60 Operation Raccoon City, but I could get 4 friends to buy $35 Operation Raccoon City Stories. You know what I'm saying?
It could have seen greater success there. Maybe been more better received. Maybe.
Yes, because people will be more receptive to it being different. They wouldn't expect a full title.
Like the briefing, you know, with like the mission at the beginning, all that, the story, like it would have almost been more acceptable because it's a PSP title. It's, you know, your level of quality, your level of expectation for the quality goes down. So it would have
exactly, because I think that is what you're missing. We're kind of bouncing back the story and presentation, but the cutscenes, there was no cutscenes with us. I think there was only like 3 or 4 in the entire game of cutscenes where it shows the actual player characters. Every other cutscene is diagnostic. I don't fucking know what the fuck the dossier. I don't fucking know what this shit is.
Yeah. It's like like a PowerPoint, like a fucking, I don't know, a computer debriefing. It's weird.
Yeah,
it's like you see it in movies and everywhere. Like it's just like your mission, if you choose to accept it, is the assassination, and this is what you'll need to do. Good luck, James Bond. But it's like that, but with Resident Evil characters.
Exactly, because there's even certain things like Resident Evil games have that this game strips down, like the fact that you can't find yellow and red herbs to combine to make a big herb that heals you for all your health. You only find green herbs and you instantly use them. Yeah, you only find first aid sprays. There's nothing Resident Evil-esque other than the fact that you're in the setting of Resident Evil. It feels like a missed opportunity with a lot of the things that the game does. You see it, and now that you say that it could have been a PSP title, now I'm starting to imagining, because this was a PSP developer
team. Yeah,
there was a team that
they've only made one up to that point. They had only made one non-PSP game, and I'm sure it plays like a PSP game in either way.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Now that you say that this game could have been a PSP game, I'm kind of rethinking everything that we've played now, because I'm thinking about it. I'm like, maybe that's why the auto aim was there, because using the triangle, square, X as your right stick might have been a little too clunky, so we got to add an auto aim. Like,
you might be right on that, but I will add that it also, I mean, wouldn't you say that it was like a callback to how, because like in the Resident Evil 2 and 3, don't you like just randomly aim and it just locks on and then you just shoot?
Well, you don't randomly aim. You still gotta aim. And then what the thing with Resident Evil is, the longer you like stand still and aim at something, the more accurate and the more damage it does. But it's kind of weird, because in this game you do the like look around aim, but it like auto shoots soon as it locks on to somebody. And I noticed that. Yeah, you were pressing R1, weren't you? Thinking that you had to press R1 to shoot. No, it will shoot if you press R1, but if you just aim, it'll shoot. Long as it locks on to somebody, it'll shoot.
Because then why would you
not use? That's why I started using the pistol so much, because I was like, this is powerful. This is too powerful.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Yeah.
Well, there's really not much to say about the gameplay.
Because as soon as you break it down like that, it makes it that's the whole game right there.
It's pretty simple. Like, I didn't feel like there was. I feel like they could have used a different mechanic, like somewhere in there. I don't know. They could have used some button tapping, like tap X to open this.
It could have been co-op actions or more squad utility, like, hey, command him to go set some demolition mines. Like, there's so much things that we can say about this game that it could have had,
right? That
it didn't have. It's hard to talk about it for real. Because even the multiplayer, we played. I played a couple matches by myself, and then we played a couple matches together after we beat the story. And what you experience is exactly what I experienced solo. It's the hardcore people that's been playing for years, decades. Oh, a decade. The top people that are keeping this game alive, and then us, and we come in thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna play this game, and they just whoop the shit out of us, and I didn't even get to see the map or experience or even know what the fuck I was doing. So
yeah, it was not fun. I feel like I couldn't even. I was like, guys, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was less fun than the actual game.
Yeah.
So I can't really say anything about multiplayer. So, and I feel like that's the main draw, but I never really we never really got to experience it, and we didn't get to experience it in the prime where there was people at our skill bracket or also didn't know what the fuck they were doing, so we could feel good about killing them and shit. Like you said, you keep saying it, and I'm feeling you on this, where it really felt like we didn't play all of this game.
Yeah. Well, I want to add too, like, to get more into some of the gameplay mechanics. So there are classes, obviously, like we stated, and I just didn't feel like there needed to even be class types. Like, did you ever feel like I was the medic? I never felt needed.
That's how I felt. Yeah, that's how I felt. That's why I switched to the assault, because when I was playing the surveillance, and at first it was cool because it's like, okay, my mini map is showing where every collectible is on the map, and every pickup. That's pretty cool. I can see enemies on the map, but all the pickups they're not hard to miss. So, and even then, all they do is give you experience, and experience is only used to buy weapons, and you'll probably only be buying weapons if you're playing multiplayer.
Oh, let's touch on that real quick about the data that you collect and what you have to do with that data.
Oh,
this was like a total,
This is the dumbest shit ever. I didn't even notice that we started playing together. I got 5 missions in by myself, and then I was like, okay, we'll play this co-op together. Bro, you have to grab the data, take it to a random computer that's like completely unrelated that you wouldn't expect. Tap it, and that turns in the data. If you don't turn in the data, you don't get the experience for picking up all the data.
Yeah, it's the laptop is the most nonchalant blended into the environment.
You wouldn't even know it was
Like-
an actual interactable unless you walked
Yeah,
up to
because
it.
you can't really. Yeah, you can't. I mean, there's some chests that you can, open and things like that. But the laptop is so tiny and usually hidden, and like
Right.
you just
Same with
did it-
surveillance cameras. There was like a certain number of surveillance cameras in every level that you would have to shoot out for like bonus EXP. I didn't know what the fuck I was shooting until I shot it. I was just like, oh, it's a ceiling titty. I'm just going to shoot it out of boredom. And it was a collectible. And I was like, wait, hold on. Now I got to look around for these. And
yeah.
I don't know where the fuck they are because the environment looks so fucking samey.
It sort of begs the question, why they didn't look at Resident Evil 4's, and I think 5 might have it in it. I haven't actually played 5. But they have those
The little blue things.
blue stash. Yeah,
and
the
I
blue
thought
statues
that they had
stick
those
out.
in the beginning when you first see the first umbrella sign. When you walk in to the first
Right.
area, I thought I shot it. I was like, oh, okay, this is a collectible, and it's not. It's just the decoration. I really thought that okay, they have the same thing, the little blue things or the little umbrella things. We'll shoot those. No,
Right. No, yeah, instead it's like the most mundane asset, like colored the same as the background, not highlighted or anything. And it's just like on some countertop, on some couch. And the
In the
only
random-
yeah, if you didn't tell me, I would have had, like never figured it out. I would have
Right.
been like, I don't know what's I would have assumed that the data I was picking up was converted automatically and I would have just kept going. Yeah, classes don't really have the necessity in this game. It feels very forced. And yeah, it feels a little bit like just an afterthought. Like, oh, we have 4 players. There need to be 4 different classes, and the abilities never really amount to anything really. I mean, when I was like sitting there looking at like my abilities as a medic, I was like,
I don't know when to
What?
use these. Every time you use your ability on me, I felt like it did more damage than it did more help me more. It would just fucking do this ugly ass effect on the screen. It would just blur
Yeah.
everything. I was like, this is so ugly. Why did he shoot me with this shit?
I kept doing it too, and I kind of in my mind's eye, I was like, he doesn't like this. I don't think because I didn't like it.
Yeah, because I never was like, hey, thanks, bro.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, hit me with that hypo gun real quick.
Hey,
And
good looks for
fucking-
that, bro.
Yeah.
Nah, I mean, from the sounds of it, from listening to interviews with people working on the game, they all state that the game originally had that survival horror element because they were, of course, they were Resident Evil fans. They wanted to make a true, proper Resident Evil 2 remake before they reworked it into Operation Raccoon City, and you can see those like bones and skeleton's still in there.
Yeah.
And I feel like this game, they should have pushed back on Capcom a little bit more and be like, no. We want to make this kind of game. Because there's certain areas, like City Hall was the main one for me that stuck out. That
Mhm.
felt horror-ish. Like it felt... What's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to say omnipotent. That's not the word I'm looking for.
No.
Ominous. There you go.
Oh, okay.
There we go. DC education right there, my boy, Chocolate City.
Did you also say whorish?
Listen, bro. Listen. Stop, okay? I went to DC public schools, bro. Stop.
Fair enough.
But it's just it's kind of forgettable. It's kind of a run and gun game, and it doesn't really. It feels like a Blockbuster weekend game.
No. A Blockbuster week? What do you mean? Like, this is like you go to Blockbuster, pick this up with your homies, play it. It doesn't feel satisfying enough.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is that you would see it and be like, oh shit, Resident Evil, let's go play it, bro. And then you bring it home, you play it, and you would be like, that wasn't really busting with nothing, and bring it back. Like if I rented this game in like 2007, back when like Blockbusters and all that shit was hot, and I was like really renting games, I would have fucked with this game. Because that's why I fuck with Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. Because I rented it, played it, and it was like, this is fine. If it came out earlier in the 360 and PS3's life cycle, and not at the like tail end of it, a lot of people would have enjoyed this game more. Because people would have been able to separate this game from 4 or 5, and you know what I'm saying? It would have just been like, oh, this is a HD 4-player co-op Resident Evil game. This is the only time this has ever been done was with Resident Evil Outbreak on PlayStation 2.
Let me add real quick that there was a mechanic in this game that
Isn't it any
there's
other Resident Evil game? Yeah, now that you mention it.
no. There's a system in this game where like if you shoot a zombie or like a random person and their blood is spilled, zombies are supposed to like all be attracted to that person. That's an actual mechanic in the game, like an actual system.
Yeah, and the infection system. This is the first Resident Evil game where you can actually become a zombie. You can get infected and become a zombie, and you have to sterilize yourself.
There's that one mission, which I think is the last mission in the train yard, where we were trying to figure out what the fuck to do. We were being swarmed by all these
We died
zombies.
like 60 times.
Yeah, and then we figured out like we had to shoot these other these soldiers, and then the zombies would be attracted to the blood and the fucking.
But you can't kill them. You just have to shoot them enough to bleed,
shoot them,
and then stop shooting them so that the zombies can swarm them. It's the weirdest moment because there's no other time in the game that they even like explain. Well, they do kind of explain like,
it's
hey, it was a blood frenzy, but it's not like a pressing mechanic. Like there's not like encounters where it's like I can't beat this unless I blood frenzy.
Right. And there's not many opportunities to use it that I was able to tell. I mean,
yeah, because there's not many sections where you're fighting both humans and zombies. It's either one or the other.
And so it was weird. I in like one of the reviews, I was like, wait, this was something that was in the game, like built in, because that's. I mean, the idea is the idea is there. It's kind of cool, right?
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's also like so half baked and poorly implemented, and then they expect you to solve this mission with that mechanic, but it's like I've not even used that. It's not even something I've ever done.
Right, because they keep respawning to like, because you have to do that to get to the next section, so they keep respawning it, but we kept trying to brute force it. There was a moment where we spent like a good like 15 minutes just fighting, and I ran over, I grenaded all of the soldiers, you were getting the zombies, and we were just fighting until we died. We expended everything. Like, what do we do until the tip finally told us, nigga, do this.
We were about to
give up.
We were about to Batman Rise of the Sensu it and just be like,
fuck it,
we can't beat this last level. So
that's what we should do when you come through.
What?
We should beat Batman.
I'd be down. Yeah, man, I think that's fucking all we gotta really say about this fucking game.
Yeah, it's an interesting game because in theory it's still fun. And if you could get this on PC, which we would highly recommend, play this on PC and not on original hardware. It is probably a much better experience than we experienced it in terms of just aiming, in terms of graphics.
Yeah. Yeah, if you could play it at 4K 60,
why not? Yeah, I mean,
I feel like it could be fun at 4K 60 if it feels responsive, which obviously on the PS3 you got this, screen tearing and then also it dropping from 30 to like whatever the fuck 15 at times. So,
and if I could play this game at 60, I feel like that's such a big difference compared to 30 frames.
Yeah.
Because you can,
it is.
Once
with
you
a
start
shooter,
playing, once you start playing games consistently at 60 frames, playing a game at 30, you immediately like, what is this shit? Nah,
we ruined it. We shouldn't even. That was one of my biggest fears getting like a PS5 was this sort of like now I can't go back. Like once you go black, you can't go back basically. But with frame rate,
I've been 60 FPS since PC. Because I remember,
you've been.
I remember getting like my little shitty hand-me-down laptop. The laptop that every nigga has when they start making beats. I remember having that and playing League of Legends and can barely get like 20 frames. And then when I got my first gaming PC after working a while, I was like, nigga, I'm playing at 180 frames, bro. Fuck with me. I thought I was the shit. I couldn't go back. Still can't, bro.
That makes sense. Yeah, as a PC gamer, yeah. But I mean, console gamers, I've been playing at 30 frames since the PS4.
Yeah.
So I mean,
you can start setting your shit to performance mode, my boy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do like on the PS5. Yeah, I do. But on PS, I mean, I had the base PS4, so most games were like at 30 frames or something.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I was saying that because you're about to play through Spider-Man again. I was saying that with Miles Morales because I think it started for me on quality mode. I don't have a
Okay.
4K TV. This shit was like $75. This is like a 12-year-old TV.
You
I
make me sick.
I don't give a shit. So I was like
Right.
1080p. Fuck all that other bullshit. Like just give me 60 FPS. I don't need this 4K 30 FPS. Because even if you try playing Miles Morales on quality mode when you start it up, just the fact that you'll see him like slowly like do that front flip, you'll be like, nah, switch to performance mode.
What kind of TV is that?
This is a I don't know.
Shit, look at the bottom on the bezel, like in the middle. What is it saying?
Oh, an Insignia.
Oh,
Bro, when I tell you I went into Walmart and they had this TV on sale for $75 and the box was all fucked up. And I was like, it's a 40-inch. Fuck it.
damn.
Grab it. Put it in the cart. I just grabbed it because I didn't have a TV for this room. And I was like, I got a whole game room with no TV.
I know, right?
I'm not balling out. Fuck that.
Yeah, I'm when it comes to like TVs, I'm kind of a snob when it comes to like TVs. Like
I'm a snob when it comes to big TVs. Like the downstairs living room TV. Oh yeah, I'm looking up megapixels. I'm doing color checks. I'm doing all that shit. But for this TV, which should be the TV that I should be super exotic about. But
it's funny that I say that I'm a snob, even though I have like
50
one,
CRTs behind you.
2, 3, 4, 5.
You're a snob for TVs,
6,
all right.
7. That's it. 7.
That's not counting the ones in the backyard in the other room. I had like
4. Oh, there's a CRT right here too.
Fucking hate this guy, bro.
And this is a 4K monitor right here.
This thing's gonna pull up with a CRT.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, hey, what up?
Take the CRT. You can put it right here, bro. Like, where can I put this shit?
My carry-on's gonna be the CRT.
No, you don't understand. I have to bring this.
No, yeah, this is important. I need to bring. They're gonna scan it through like the X-ray thing and be like, "What, sir? What is this? This is a TV.
This is a fucking TV, sir."
What is this? The 1980s? So you can't just fucking bring this thing with you. What are you doing? This is a bomb. This is a bomb.
What's crazy about this is that I used to have Devin's dad when they like moved out. He had like a Sony Triton or whatever, like that super. You know this. Yeah, the CRT that's like the Maybach of CRTs.
Yeah.
And I grabbed that shit when we moved out, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And then we were moving here. I was like, I'm not moving this big ass TV, bro.
How big was it?
It was big as fuck. Like, and in terms
of that. So this right here is a 27-inch, and this thing is. I do not like moving this thing. Too heavy. Everything else is smaller.
I think that's about the same length because it took me, Devin. Yeah, and like, because at the time I was living with 4 other people, it took like 4 of us to move that TV.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think me and Devin's dad and like the neighbor moved it into my car, and then when I got to the house, I was like, "Hold on, guys, I need help, please."
Yeah.
It was a lot of.
I carried this thing by myself, and I can't do it again. I will hurt myself.
Man, Randy Savage, you trying to break your back over here?
No, I do. It's really like a terrible fucking. I do this thing sometimes, especially with CRTs. I'm like, I want to move this tonight. I'm not gonna wait for 2 other niggas to come meet me next Saturday. I have this TV now. I'm moving it tonight, and one day that's gonna get me.
I used to do that with the big family CRT. Did you used to have one of those like big body ones where it'd be like big as shit, like take up the whole wall, like big ass joints?
Oh, the projectors essentially. There's like the projection TVs that are just massive. They're like giant CRTs. Yeah.
Yeah, those joints. I used to have we used to have one in the living room, and I would move my Wii downstairs. Well, I would move the Wii upstairs to like play games and then bring it downstairs so my mom would play Zumba, and I would have to like move the whole fucking TV, do the electrical plugging in all the yellows and greens and shit, and unplugging. That shit was the worst. I used to hate that shit, bro. I have to sweep every time because you'd be like, damn, all this dust. What the fuck? It's crazy.
That's crazy. Those TVs are heavy, and
I don't even know how the fuck we moved it in and how we moved it out.
yeah, how
I don't know.
It's funny because you see those TVs everywhere on like because no one wants them because they're just so big. Like CRT collectors aren't even looking like no one wants those giant projection CRTs. I think they might be early LCDs, but they're shaped boxy. They're like CRTs.
Yeah, they have the whole body backs and shit.
Yeah. But yeah, no one. They're like people like on on Facebook Marketplace and everywhere like, oh, free, take it, please. It's bring 3 people. It's like no one wants these things.
That's
which maybe there'll be a market.
Yeah, but that's some shit I would do. I'll grab one of those. Like if I had a man cave or like a man cave basement, like just to myself, I would be like,
I've thought about it.
We got the big ass like you can like mount a big ass TV here and then have like a big ass CRT over here with like the shelves on the side. And you know what I'm saying? You can build a whole like secondary unit around just that big ass CRT. You know, like its own little section and shit. But
it's like it could be furniture.
That's a fire hazard as well.
Sondi, would you recommend everyone picking up Operation Raccoon City or giving it a try or adding it to your collection? You think it's worth any of that?
I wouldn't. Only if you're like a diehard like Resident Evil fan, and I'm a diehard Resident Evil fan, and even I'm kind of saying like I don't know if you should play this joint.
Yeah, it's sort of like you could probably skip it. This is a back of the rack title, but it's just not a good back of the rack title. Like this is one that should be. What do we call it? This is the worst of the rack. Is that what we call it?
Banned from the rack?
This should be banned from the rack. Like
because it's not necessarily that it's like a bad game because it was serviceable. You know what I'm saying? It was a fun game to play.
Yeah. I just feel like
you can't even buy it on Steam anymore. Well, okay, that's a thing.
I guess I have to keep it. It's in a shitty case. I feel like I'll get like $2 for it. I mean, it's going to be in my collection forever. But...
yeah, so you would have to buy it on original hardware because you can't buy it on Steam anymore. We just capped. Yeah, it's not on PC though. Well, so
can you buy like the Windows like actual CD like on eBay?
Is there a big box Raccoon City?
I mean, I would think, right?
Oh shit, there is a big box. That's why it's off of Steam because it had games for Windows Live.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that shit destroyed hella games. This is going for $250 complete big box. That's kind of gross. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you for watching this episode of Back of the Rack, Operation Raccoon City. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you guys
I hope you guys don't play this game.
Yeah, I was gonna say I hope you guys enjoyed the game, but I'm like, wait, I don't even know. Yeah, so
I mean, I enjoyed my time. I do say that. That's what I'm saying.
That's the thing.
I think we had fun
because we played it together. So find a buddy. Maybe if we have time, we can get 2 of you to play with me and Sondi, and we'll do like we'll run a 4v, not a 4v4, but like a whole
4-man campaign. That'll be fun.
4-man campaign. Yeah. But yeah, we have more content coming to the channel. We have more Sondi Selects. We have Back of the Rack status check. We have Bendez Ponders, beats for boater beats. We have just there's a lot of content now. I think we're pretty much capped for a while. Yeah.
You guys are getting more than enough from us.
Yeah, definitely more than enough. Like you don't need more. Trust us. And then especially with the last status check being probably like, I don't know, like 3 hours long, maybe.
Yeah, after cutting everything, it's still gonna be 3 hours long.
It's gonna be it's a big boy, but we hope you guys like that. Check that out if you guys want to hear our non-game or not non-gaming, but we talk about different games, newer games. We talk about life stuff. We talk about how our friendship began in some sense, I guess. Kind of talk about that a little bit.
Talk about a lot of shit that episode. We kind of had a pep talk. We just really had a powwow.
Yeah. Sondi gives me a pep talk. it was us just hanging out. Like, hey, like let's just hang out.
Yeah,
Like, that's really what
let's
it
hang
was.
out
That's
for
what
4 hours before we record the podcast.
that's what status check essentially is. So if you guys want to join us on that, that'd be super fun. And we had a lot of fun just even recording it. But yeah, make sure you like and subscribe. Go ahead and comment. Let us know if you've played Operation Raccoon City, and if you haven't, or if you have, let us know
That we're
if
dead
it was
wrong
good or
and we're
bad.
actually the worst commentators ever, that it was really the most amazing game in the world. Please let us know.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Ciao.
Thank you. Peace out.